Sometime in the mid-1800s, Dr. Charles Finney, a medical practitioner living in Atchison, Kansas, heard a frantic knock on his door in the dead of night. Outside stood a desperate mother, holding her 6-year-old daughter who was screaming in agonizing pain from a rupturing appendix. Realizing he had minutes to act, Finney rushed her down into his basement operating room. In his haste, he miscalculated the dosage of anesthetic. The little girl woke up mid-surgery, pinned to an antique medical chair surrounded by cold, heavy iron equipment. She bled out and died on the table in pure terror. This is the widely accepted origin story of the Sallie House, often considered one of the most haunted locations in America. This is a historical ledger from Atchison, Kansas. Dr. Finney was a real medical practitioner who lived in that house. But if you search these public records, there is absolutely zero evidence that a little girl named Sallie ever lived there, was ever treated by him, or ever died in that basement. The ghost of Sallie is a historical fabrication. The true history presents a terrifying problem. If Sallie never existed, what exactly was the violent, invisible force that systematically tore a young family apart inside that house in the 1990s? In the early 1990s, Tony and Deborah Pickman moved into 508 North 2nd Street. They were expecting their first child. Tony was a Catholic who had absolutely no interest in the paranormal, and they were completely unaware of the malevolent presence waiting for them inside. The activity started small. Lights would dim on their own. The pull chains on their ceiling fans would spin rapidly when the fan was completely turned off. Then their newborn baby started waking up constantly in the night. But strangely, only when he was left alone in the upstairs nursery. The Pickmans realized this was a deliberate pattern one evening when Tony walked past the nursery. He found the room's lights switched on, and 3 of the baby's stuffed animals arranged sitting upright in a perfect circle on the floor. Tony put them away and turned off the light, but by the time he reached the bottom of the stairs, the lights clicked back on, and the toys were back on the floor. Seeking answers, the couple brought in a psychic medium. The psychic told them the house was inhabited by the spirit of a little girl named Sallie, who simply wanted to be part of the family and protect the new baby. Deborah immediately felt the urge to nurture and comfort this spirit. That diagnosis was exactly what the entity needed. By presenting itself as a lost, frightened child, it successfully weaponized a mother's empathy. It created a protective blind spot in Deborah, allowing whatever was actually in that house to embed itself deep into their daily lives without resistance. With Deborah's trust secured, the entity completely dropped its innocent act. It began a relentless campaign of physical violence, and its hostility was entirely focused on Tony. Bizarre, isolated fires started breaking out. Sudden shots of flame would appear and disappear in an instant. During a family party, a doll was found on the stairs, actively in flames, but the burn damage only affected specific areas of the plastic, as if the fire was melting the doll from the inside out. Then the entity started touching Tony. He stepped out of the shower one night to find a distinct bite mark on his leg. Soon, deep red scratches began appearing spontaneously across his torso and arms. Some bled heavily, others appeared with no physical pain at all. The haunting escalated to the point where the national television series Sightings arrived to investigate. Their crew captured undeniable physical evidence on camera. While filming, the initials MC slowly carved themselves into Tony's skin right in front of them, matching the exact initials of Michael C. Finney, the man who originally built the house. The attacks extended into shape-shifting visions. One night, a cluster of dark dust particles drifted through Tony's bedroom window and morphed into an old woman in black who reached for his throat before turning into a giant black bird. Later, the apparition of the little girl appeared at the foot of his bed, let out a deep growl, and transformed into a hunched creature with melting flesh. The entity's presence reached far beyond the physical space of the home. It actively dismantled Tony's physical and mental defenses, all while hiding behind the harmless facade of an imaginary child. The external assaults were just the beginning of a larger psychological siege. Tony started hearing scratching sounds coming from inside the bedroom walls. At night, it sounded like 6 or 7 distinct people were inside the plaster, whispering to him. His personality began to fracture. A dark, intense anger infected him, turning him into someone he didn't recognize. But the moment Tony stepped foot off the property line and went to work, the anger would vanish. He felt completely normal until he returned home. The house began forcing highly specific, disturbing urges into his mind. He would hear voices instructing him to kill Deborah. He suffered from vivid, recurring dreams of taking a butcher knife and cutting his wife's throat when she walked through the door. The psychological pressure reached a devastating peak. One morning, Tony woke up overwhelmed by hateful thoughts. He walked into the kitchen, took out a butcher knife, and blacked out. Later that day, after returning from a trip to his parents' house, he found the family cat stabbed and pinned to the kitchen counter. He had absolutely zero memory of doing it. The violent phenomena, the scratches, the fires, the moving objects, were secondary. The primary threat was a psychological contagion that actively rewrote a father's reality, attempting to use him as a vessel for its own violence. Deborah's naive denial finally shattered on the day Tony was violently thrown backward into the rungs at the top of the stairs. The invisible impact was so severe that it snapped the thick wooden banisters in half. Realizing they were dealing with something capable of killing them, the Pickmans packed their things. Within 3 weeks, they fled the house, permanently escaping the psychological pressure cooker. The entity remained active. The very next tenant was a solitary woman who was quickly evicted for trashing the property. When the landlord went in to inspect the damage, he found the basement walls covered in strange occult markings and a large pentagram painted directly onto the concrete floor. Today, 508 North 2nd Street is a massive draw for paranormal investigators from around the world. Despite the Pickmans leaving decades ago, visitors continue to experience extreme physical phenomena and capture countless pieces of unexplained evidence. This is an audio waveform graph charting a recording taken in 2018. The podcast Astonishing Legends conducted an investigation, placing a motion-activated recorder inside the empty nursery. They captured an EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon, a recording of sounds or voices on electronic media that are not audible to the human ear at the time they occur. When they reviewed the tape from the empty room, they found this. The haunting of the Sallie House proves the most dangerous entities don't announce themselves as monsters. They present themselves as helpless victims, preying on human empathy until it is far too late to escape.